Hey y'all, Zelda here. I am here with a week ahead tarot reading. I'm going to show you 3 different crystal skulls. You're going to pick the one that speaks most to you or that you feel drawn to in some way. And then you're going to skip ahead to the timestamp in the description for this video, and you'll get your reading that you selected. So I'm going to show you the different skulls, but first I just wanted to let you know what decks I'll be using. The tarot deck is the Smoke, Ash, and Embers deck. This is by Three Trees Press, and it has amazing artwork. It's like a dragon tarot. So that is the tarot deck we'll be using. The other one, 2 different oracle decks. One of them is called Soul Cards. Really beautiful. Doesn't have words, but has this really evocative imagery that I love combining with other decks, as well as the Dragon Wisdom. I'm just looking at the box that was on the ground over there. The Dragon Wisdom Oracle deck. So those are the 3 different decks. I will also have those in the description. So if you want to check out any of them for yourself, you're welcome to do that. So pile number 1, this is your first option. Oops. Should I put that in view? This is Manu. Manu was carved by Leandro de Souza. All of the skulls this week are carved by Leandro de Souza and has this clear quartz, but with this kind of like lodolite inclusion or chlorite inclusion. That's pile number 1 if Manu is speaking to you. Pile number 2, this is Ninazu. Ninazu is a tourmalinated quartz star being. You can see the ends of the tourmaline. Also carved by Leandro de Souza. This is a star being carving with the heart on the forehead. So this is Ninazu. Ninazu is pile number 2. Pile number 3, this is Danu. Danu is a clear quartz. This style is called the Magical Child style. This is also carved by Leandro de Souza, Brazilian master carver, who I collect a lot of skulls from. So this is Danu. Danu is pile number 3. So now that you have at least the options to choose your pile, you're welcome to pause if it takes longer or rewatch it if you like to decide. I'm going to spend a moment tuning in and centering myself. I also do some of that before the video, but I like to just spend some time calling in guides and setting an intention. If you would like to do that, you can hang out and then skip ahead, or if that's not your jam, that's totally fine. You can just skip ahead and I will see you at your reading. So if you are going to tune in, I'm going to spritz some of the Golden Sphinx, which I like to use for readings because it connects to the wisdom of the Akashic Records and Sphinx wisdom. Connecting to any guides, ancestors, teams, and lineages to support me in being a clear channel for the messages that come through today. And inviting and calling in any guides, ancestors, teams, and lineages of each and every person who is watching this video. Inviting them to tap into their own sacred discernment, to know which messages are meant for them and which they can leave behind. Okay. We will get started with pile number 1. Pile number 1, you chose Manu. Manu is Atlantean, an Atlantean ascension specialist. And he has a very wise, but oftentimes a little like learning from the past, learning from the past type of energy. And so sometimes we'll express things that, are warnings almost. Let's see what cards you chose. Pile number 1. Okay. So the tarot card you chose was the 4 of Pentacles, or the tarot card for pile number 1. I guess Manu chose it. Is the 4 of Pentacles. The oracle card from the dragon deck is Silence. And the soul wisdom card is this one. The 4 of Pentacles is a card that really feels like coming back and creating containers of quiet, containers of support for the body, and for maintaining and creating a sense of resourcefulness that is able to be retained because of the integrity of the container. A lot of the imagery, like in this card with the hourglass here, as well as this almost like balancing, but having the other like 3 claws on the pentacles, feels like this like curling up or like holding, cradling a part of yourself or a part of your body in your own arms. It feels very much like an invitation to be quiet with yourself. I'm hearing, what do you hear in silence? Like, what does silence sound like to you? And it also, I'm seeing an image. Savannah's like showing me this image of a noise canceling function. And when there's noise canceling, there's actually like a sound that counteracts the other sound, right? That creates the experience of quiet. And it feels very much like this curiosity or this invitation to explore like what balance looks like, or what creates a sense of quiet internally, whether that's like actually reducing or turning down other stimulation, or whether it actually is like balancing that stimulation out for yourself and like allowing yourself to experience balance in that way, right? Like sometimes when we need to have quiet internally, we could listen to like really loud music and feel really peaceful. Like that is an option for how we take care of our bodies. Sometimes we feel a quiet stillness internally when we have a really satisfying active physical experience. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's like having a really active experience is imbalancing or is stressful. We want things that are regulating. So I'm checking in with Manu, and one of the things that Manu is sharing is that in order to feel secure, being present with yourself, that involves you having the trust that other people can handle things while you're gone. In this, I really noticed this like little bee, and I see almost like, I don't know, like a butterfly or something in that image outside of that person's head. This feels like it's connected to like you're not alone in the sense that you have like guides and supports and spirits that want to help you, but also that you can like delegate. If something that came up for you when I said that was, well, I don't have time to rest, or I can't do that for some reason, the question that would be offered back is, how do you allow yourself to trust that you are only intended to do the work that is yours here, and the rest of the work is for everyone else, and that they have the tools and resources to do that. That like, if you need time to kind of cradle that part of yourself, that the work that needs doing will get done, that you are not responsible for saving the world, right? That like you are both indispensable and uh, so important, but you are also not more important than anyone else. And there can be a liberation in that, right? Kind of like the idea that your world does revolve around you, actually, but everyone else's world revolves around them, right? Like that you're not the main character in someone else's story, that kind of energy, right? And that can kind of be a little bit of a relief, right? Because there's this ask for you to have a container for you and your body. And that involves some silence. It also involves like a time commitment. Is like this hourglass feels very directive in that way, that like the wing is there almost as a shield. And this is like that feeling, and even like the body posture here, it feels very fundamentally like contained, like carved out. Like carved out. So this is something that like if you have a hard time getting to this, the timing and the container part of it makes me think like, can you schedule some self-care actually for yourself? Can you make it a priority? Can you give it the same weight as like work in your schedule? That kind of thing. Manu also says that taking care of your body in this way is a gift, and that it's intended to be part of the lesson. That this isn't a distraction from the lesson, this is part of the lesson. And that listening to your body in this way, listening to the way that you connect to the earth, is actually part of the ascension process, is that we're not meant to like leave this behind. I think of the work of like Sophie Strand, cosmogony is Sophie Strand's handle, who writes about the body as an ancestor and about fungi as angels. And this feels very much like returning to the wisdom of our like earthly homes. Really making space for that. And then when we nurture that light, we have so much more access to all that is beyond us because we have access to all that is us. Okay. Thank you, Group 1. I think that is your message. Thank you, Manu, for sharing your wisdom. I appreciate you all for watching, for sharing. Yeah, let me know if the message resonated. I look forward to seeing you next week for the week ahead. Group 2, Ninazu. You are up next. Ninazu was very adamant about being in today's lineup. So I'm excited to see what messages he has to share with you. Okay. The tarot card Ninazu chose is the Two of Pentacles. The Dragon Oracle card is Independence. And the Soul card is this one. I'm just taking a second to see what messages come through. I'm feeling like this pulling, almost like, So you get an insight. Sometimes the messages aren't as easy to decipher as they sometimes appear. You'll notice I oftentimes start with talking about like what I know about the experience of the tarot card, but sometimes it feels a little hard to do in an immediate way. But what's coming across here feels like this tension, almost like my skin feeling pulled, like something snagging or pulling. And I hear Ninazu saying like, this is the like membrane that separates you and connects you to the world. The Two of Pentacles feels like, just from this image, there's like all of these little baby bunnies crawling all over this dragon. And this dragon feels both like unamused, but also like unruffled. Like the dragon doesn't seem tense. Like if anything, its face is a little like, just like tolerant and like unflappable is the word that comes to mind. But I also will say it feels like it's a tension or something with independence. Like it feels very much like things crawling all over, tugging, pulling, wanting attention. And that like connection is in relationship to other, but also in relationship to self. And I see this in this card, this experience like with the hands, that there's this like this and then like that, and it feels they're pointed in the same direction and the person's arms are out like that, and it feels like there's this like receiving but also this like awkward bending even that is relating and channeling the energy through. with the dragons, this feels very connected to individuation. So Ninazu would like me to tell you a little bit about him. Ninazu is um, an underworld deity, kind of like Hades. I don't know, but not Hades. And I'm not sure exactly why not, since it feels very similar energetically, but Ninazu is the name that he gave me. And he has this quality of being able to both like usher souls into the underworld, but also like retrieving parts of self, like fragmented parts of self from the underworld. And this process of like retrieving the self from the shadow or the underworld, that kind of thing, feels very significant. And he's saying that it's he's kind of scolding me a little bit, not like scolding, but like saying it's not like Hades because I'm not Hades, but like also that I'm not a deity. He's not a deity. He is a steward of parts of self into the safety of the underworld and then back into the light. And it's interesting that he said it this way to me, into the safety of the underworld. This feels like a tension between independence and interconnectedness, like interdependence, right? Is like the relationship between all of the other parts and how that is integrated into self. I feel like I see like the two as actually the like two sides of this infinity, and as like how they relate and inform and create each other. For some reason, I'm really getting like, especially with the underworld, this like religious trauma almost. I don't know if anyone watching like relates to having some religious trauma or something like that. Like I'm getting like some Mary um imagery, some like just like the face, and also with like the crumpling effect, and also with what I know personally about like the dragon seraphim angel connection, that there feels like there's some maybe like reclamation of spirituality, um or like a reclamation of like a connection to the divine that is untouched by systems of oppression and manipulation. And like he's showing me like an image of like hands being like washed clean almost and then touching something, and there's this aspect, I mean, definitely wash your hands, but it doesn't feel literal to me at all in that sense, in this quality of, he said like untouched, and then manipulation, and manipulation feels like it has that like moving with the hands root from the manipulation in the etymology of the word. And this feels very much like it's unmanipulatable, right? Like it is both untouched by that, but it is also something that is like free of manipulation, that can't be like contorted into something that serves a system. So this feels like a reclamation of a divine channel for someone, of something that was maybe taken from you in the past, or felt like it was, or a part of you that had to go somewhere to be safe, like away. And it doesn't have to be religious. If you don't connect with that piece, I'm curious how you would connect with these other parts. But that feels really strong in this message this week. Ninazu says that he would love to help. And so there is this quality of like you can call upon guides to help you with this type of work, of this type of retrieval. So knowing that you're not alone in like a positive way, but also knowing that you are empowered to have like your own agency. Okay, I think that's it for you. Thank you, Ninazu. Thank you to the card pulls, and thank you to you for being here to share in this experience with me. I always love sharing this with you, and I appreciate getting to have these readings. Let me know if this resonated with you, and I will see you next week. Next up, we have group 3, last but never least. You chose Danu, who this camera does no justice to any of these carvings. She's really beautiful, as they all are. Let's see what cards Danu chose. Okay. So the tarot card is the Tower. The dragon card is Oisin. And this is the Soul card. Okay. So I will say that I do not know this dragon personally. I do not know a dragon named Oisin. And because of the way this deck is set up, a lot of them have like words, like the other ones had like independence and like things like that. They have like self-respect or whatever it is, right, on them. This is a name, so I'm guessing it's like a dragon that this person who made the deck works with. But I'm not gonna go look it up because I don't connect as much to some of the deck's specific dragon guides where they talk about like one of them talks about like a dragon matriarch or something, and I just haven't met them personally, and it's kind of like not as relevant for me to try and channel messages from a being that I don't work with. I would just be like creating something. So if you know, then I invite you to take this message and integrate it for yourself. But I'm going to use the imagery and whatever comes up through Danu. So the Tower is this, especially in this deck, it looks like it's being struck with lightning. There are all these dragons flying around. It is a time where things feel like they are rapidly disrupted. I feel almost like all of my cells are like vibrating. Like I feel it kind of in my body, almost like a little shaky, like they're rattling. actually. And so the tower can feel enormous, like it can feel like almost like a disaster type of thing, but it can also feel like things getting shaken up. Like I feel like we're going to find out what foundation is really functional, helpful, solid. What foundation is really solid and what is excess, what is flimsy. That's what the tower wisdom is, right? Is everything that is misaligned has to go. And this can be a way that of finding like true balance, actually, and true alignment. It feels very much like walking through the fire, right? Although the tower card feels very dramatic, it's like one of the cards in the tarot that really feels like drastic and intense. It is really, I thought it was a really beautiful way to explain this. Lindsay Mack, one of my tarot teachers, says that the way that they teach tarot is not like predicting something. It's not divining that something bad is going to happen. It's actually revealing what is already there to be worked with. Right. So because you picked this, right, because you felt intuitively called to group 3 and to Danu, who Danu is so good at holding this type of space. It's not surprising to me that she would have chosen this card in this moment to come forth. But that doesn't mean that because of that, something bad is going to happen, or that if something hasn't happened, that it's going to. And we don't want to set ourselves up by like dreading something in the future. And I don't think that that's what's happening. It's more like if we knew that there was a possibility for something to get shaken up, we'd want to like check the foundation and check our own foundation and how we tend and care to ourselves in that way. Danu is a water goddess. She often shows up as this crystalline river, where she climbs into the river and fully like dissolves and becomes the river. And she's saying like the tower can be also like finding out what is like soluble in water, that like climbing into the water can be a tower moment because it might dissolve something that was like holding things together that is not serving, and then that part that's been held on superficially might fly off or something. And so it feels like this message of like, the other image that she's showing me is of like those stitches that dissolve over time and kind of fall out, is that kind of experience that like the tower sometimes helps to like clear out these things that have like served their purpose, and then the excess, it's time for it to go. This card feels like when I first saw it, it was like this person was falling with their hands kind of up. But then when I kept looking at it, it almost looks to me like they're dancing. Like their expression is not necessarily bad or good. And it feels like this open connection. Almost like their head is the head of like a mushroom. And I am aware of this like interconnected web or something, this like mycelium web with the surroundings. Like I think of like the way moss grows, or the way like a mangrove is an interconnected, or an aspen grove, right? Where it's like a community of being. And I also see that in this dragon, that behind the dragon, there's all these like webbing and lights and branches. It feels very earthy, like very like being part of the earth. And this also feels like if you are going through a tower moment where it just like feels like stuff is falling apart, let it fall apart in whatever way you can. Like, let it go. Let the earth hold you. This feels like an encouragement to like go outside. You know, I know there's all those memes of like go touch grass, but like go outside and like lie on the earth, or put your back on a tree, or hang out with a house plant. You know, that kind of feeling of like, how do you just let yourself surrender to the experience? um Danu just showed me this scene from, I don't know, some very like slapsticky movie where I don't even know what the movie is called, but someone gets in like a car accident and they're like sleeping so they don't get as hurt, but the person driving the car gets hurt. And they were like, it's great that you were just like so relaxed. And this is true, right? That if we like learn how to fall, or we learn how to be more relaxed, we injure ourselves less. And so this feels like an invitation to like go lean into the fall. Like, it's okay. The earth, the soft earth, is going to be there to catch you if you're falling. I also keep thinking that this says poison. Not poison, but poison, but it doesn't, right? And so I also feel this call to remember that um, we can associate things with being dangerous, right? I see those words, those letters together, and I think poison. Like, I think that. But that also associates with me to like the difference between poison and medicine is a question of dosage. And so there's an aspect here of um, not letting yourself create more problems just through noticing more and more things going wrong, right? Sometimes the tower moment is a moment, and then everything else is like resisting that moment that happened. That's all the other chaos, or not being ready for that moment to happen. Danu, as a water goddess, says that learn from the wisdom of water in terms of the malleability, the shape shifting, the ability to be a tempest, the ability to be a glacier, the ability to be fog hanging over the mountain. But also let yourself sit in the healing river. So if you feel called to this, right, besides going out and being with the earth, the other thing I would say Danu feels like she leads to is like a meditation where you sit under a healing waterfall. And if you want to work with Danu, one of the ways that she works with me is that her hair kind of like flows off into the waterfall, and she like creates this like healing stream. That's one of the places that she leads me. And so if you want to visualize going to kind of this healing grove and sitting under a healing waterfall, that could be a beautiful way to connect with some of that energy in a challenging time. Thank you, Danu, and thank you all for watching. Thank you, Group 3. I, as always, appreciate each and every one of you for being here to watch these readings. If you would like to be notified, you can always subscribe. If you would like to connect to your own carvings or explore working with guides, you can also check out my website. And I finally uploaded some of the dragons and skulls that I have done readings for that are available for you to peruse at your leisure. Yes, I will be back next week for the week ahead. And eventually I will learn how to edit these so you don't have to have all the in-between moments. But right now they are unedited and there for you to enjoy. I will see you next week. Bye.